All right. Well, we are going to get started. I'm going to share my slide deck and we're going to get going. And we will be ready to start. And I guess I should start at the beginning. Just thought I'd start. Hello, October. Hello to all of us. I love fall. I hope the rest of you do. Today we have an exciting speaker and in fact, we kind of have two speakers today. So it's really nice. We're going to have our guest speaker, Elena, who I'll introduce in a few minutes. And then the job search tip today, we have one of the NOVA managers coming in to give a great job search tip around inclusion. So I'm excited about that. All right, so just a couple of reminders. It looks like almost all of you have your name up there. We personally love if you put the job title you're looking for. It helps with the networking, especially because we have such a large crowd. Make sure you're on mute when you're not speaking. And as I've already said, but I love to reiterate, please put your cameras on. And be respectful in the chat. Now, today, Elena has requested that the chat stay on. However, during her presentation, the chat should not be it for an introduction. The chat should not be to reach out or give anybody a great idea. The chat should only be questions or comments for Elena. Okay, so please watch that. It will be very helpful. Our speakers do not give out their slide decks, so take notes. Elena is going to be very interactive. She's going to show a website and things like that. So probably a really good idea to have your notes on. All right. So let me introduce Elena Agar, and she has been here before, and she was so popular last time. We've asked her to come back, and I really appreciate that. But in case you missed hers months ago, let me give you a little overview. After I read her bio, Elena, I'm amazed you've got time to come and be with us. Elena is a very busy woman. She has had a dynamic career with exciting career pivots. So some of you are going to probably relate to this. She started her career in higher education, working with students. Then she expanded out to adult learners and then corporations. And she has fallen in love with talent development because she knows that contributes to business growth. And she said, if you ask colleagues and clients, what's it like to work with her? She is known for ability to drive change with individuals and organizations so that everyone can achieve their potential and maintain competitive edge. So I like that. Currently, she is a lead in talent acquisition for a tech consulting firm. And she also has a very strong interest in science and behavioral neuroscience and how that relates to how we behave and how we express our talents. So she, I'm sure, is going to may mention that throughout hers. She is also co-founded, this is why I'm saying she's so busy. She's also co-founded a tech education platform that prepares youth for the future. And she volunteers with young students and military veterans, helping them with career development. So we're so blessed to have her today. Elena, I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn the time over to you.
Sheridan, if you don't mind, I just want to jump in real quick. What we're asking everyone in the group today is to keep chat on topic. So thank you for those who are sharing your LinkedIn profiles, but if you could just hold off until we get to the second half of the meeting to do that, so we can focus on Elena's topic for today, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. Sheridan, I knew you weren't tracking chat, so I just wanted to jump in.
Thank you very much.
Good morning / good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm based on the East Coast. This is, I think, my third session with the group, so I'm very, very excited to be here. I love doing these sessions because, as many of you, and you also just heard, I've had my own several pivots in my career. I've actually probably changed careers 3 times at this point, maybe even 4. So there's a lot. I feel like I'm every year to 2 years I have to reinvent myself and continue growing. But everything I do is around the umbrella of kind of talent development, talent acquisition, and business growth. So I've been where you are. I understand the pain of job search, the disheartening motions that you have to go through to get that next opportunity, even if you are currently working and even enjoying what you're doing. With everything that's happening in technology these days, to just maintain relevance takes effort on its own. So it's exciting times to be creating a career, reinventing yourself, but also it is challenging because there's so many things that we have to stay on top of. But luckily, with the emergence of different technologies, there are also a lot of tools that I think many people are not utilizing effectively to ease the process of not only job search, but also learning and just personal and professional development. So I'll be talking about that a little bit. And as the organizers mentioned, please feel free to ask me questions throughout the session today. I want to make it as interactive as possible. This is for you. And so I want to make sure that I'm tailoring the discussion towards what is it that you want to get out of this conversation. As the organizers mentioned, I have, over the last decade or so, I've worked in different industries. I've done this globally in 13 different countries. I was really privileged to be able to travel and deliver sessions such as these, work with organizations in different parts of the world. And so this has been my kind of, I always say it was a hobby that slash passion that turned into a career and then a business as well. So I consider myself very lucky, but that is not to say that I have gotten here with just, peaches and ease. I have gone through my own ups and downs as I was building and creating this career that I have today. Along the way, I've also learned that no matter what type of work that I do in organizations or with individuals one-on-one, there's a really big piece that I've started focusing on the last couple of years, and that is the well-being. And so I decided to get my personal training license and really starting to look at how does our physical well-being impact our career success. And that is why I also gotten into the cognitive science. And this is something I'm studying. I've been studying for the last 1.5 years at a local university where I'm at in DC, because there is a huge connection between our overall well-being and how successful we are in our careers. And so that's something I focus on quite strongly. And so quick thing before I get into today's session is, through this working with individuals, what I've learned is there are many different ways that many different pillars of well-being. So depending which research you look at, there's 10 to 12 different pillars of well-being, which have to do with your career well-being, your finance well-being, your mental well-being. But I noticed that there's 3 pillars out of those 10 to 12 that really make a difference when you are going through change, when you are looking for a job, when you're trying to grow in your career. And those 3 are the physical well-being. So how well are you sleeping? How well, are you moving throughout the day? What kind of foods you're eating, how much caffeine you're drinking, how much sugar intake, and so on. The second one is the mental / emotional well-being, which is the self-awareness. Why you do what you do, understanding your strengths, understanding areas you can improve at, and really just being in tune with why you behave in a certain way, right? How do you make decisions? What are they? Where is that information coming from? And the third well-being pillar that is important here is the social well-being. And the social well-being here is the people around you, the love and friendships you have in your life, the joy you have in your life. And so these 3, the physical, mental / emotional, and social, are vital to our success in our careers, because that is the base of everything. You need to be, the level of your productivity and performance and the level of your resilience throughout job search or career change or economic changes or political, any changes that we go through as a society will be determined by, not determined, but it will help you greatly if you're taking care of these pieces. And you need support. So having people in your life that can support you, having a community like this that can support you and understand where you're coming from and be there as your cheerleader is also equally as important for us to go from A to Z and this journey of career growth, career change, and so on. So it is something I always tell people, you know, if you're like, okay, I feel like I'm doing everything right, but you feel stuck in whatever you're doing, I would say audit these 3 aspects of your life, because these are usually the hardest to change and adjust, because it requires us. There's a lot of uncomfortable things that we have to uncover about ourselves when we focus on these 3 things, but it's also where the magic happens. So all right, so let's kick in today. So what I'm going to talk about is, before we actually go into the AI tools that will help you simplify job search, and it's not only ChatGPT, there's other tools that I'll share with you. Maybe you've seen some of them, maybe some of it is new. All the tools that I'm going to be sharing with you today are free. There are free options for it. And then, of course, like everything else out there, if you want to get something, you know, for a longer period of time or a little bit more, you know, jacked up, then you're going to have to pay for it. But majority of the things I always try to put out there are free resources that I've come across in the world of talent development. But before we get into that, I really think it's important to reflect a little bit on the system and a strategy that you have, because tools only work if you know what you want to get out of them and if you know what you're trying to achieve with those tools. All right. And then I'm going to share insights from a recruiter. I've been in recruitment for several years. I actually hire people. I interview people. I work with agencies, like recruitment agencies. So I'll give you a little bit of an inside look into, you know, just like a little reality check about what it's like to work with a recruiter. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. So let's go ahead and get into the session. And again, feel free to ask questions, comment throughout. I'd be happy to, I'll kind of, towards the end of each slide, I will make sure to come in and check the chat. So, all right. All right, so just as a reminder, I know you've done many of these sessions focusing probably around, you know, job search strategy, or if you're looking for a career change. I've done some of these sessions for this group as well. So for some of you, it might be just a reminder again. For others, maybe it's something new, but it's very essential that you as a career seeker, whether you're just changing jobs or doing a complete career change, understanding where you are today and where do you want to go. So understanding what is it that you're, you know, what's the next step? Is your journey going to be from A to Z, or is it from A to C? What are the gaps? Are there any gaps that you need to fill, right? Why do you want to make that change? Why that job? And so on. Learning to tell your story. Probably one of the biggest things that I notice candidates struggle with is understanding what is it that you bring to the table? And I don't mean, you know, ticking the box on your resume and kind of going bullet by bullet. I'm talking a story. You know, a story can be something like, I'm just going to make things up. A story can be something like a marketing professional with, you know, I'm a marketing professional with 10 plus years of experience. I've had the privilege to be exposed to industries X and Y, and I've held the roles of A, B, and C. Throughout this journey, what I've learned is that I'm really interested in where marketing is going to go as technology emerges. And I'm really curious to see, I'm really curious to work with organizations and people that want to be more creative about their marketing approach. And what I'm looking for next is to actually identify companies that can match my values, but also companies that are forward thinking when it comes to marketing, something like that. That's a story versus I'm a marketing professional. I have certification X, Y, and Z. I've worked for this company for 10 years, and this is what I've done. So telling a story about your overall experience, right, is essential. And this is especially important for career change seekers, because what, you know, some of you might relate, as you're changing your careers, you're like, well, wait a minute, I've been doing job X and Y for 10, 15 years, and now I want to change into something else. Or my job here is no longer relevant for whatever reason, and now I'm trying to reinvent myself. But do I have to start from scratch? Like, what do I have to offer? And you always have something to offer. Every experience, every day of any job that you have ever done counts towards who you are today as an individual, the skills you have, and so on. It goes back to your ability to be able to recognize what is it that you have done and to be able to see how that can relate to any new job that you're going to be pursuing. So learning to tell your story is essential. Understanding your audience. Before you use any of these tools, before you're trying to simplify the job search, who is your audience? Are you targeting the right audience, right? Are you selling, quote unquote, yourself to the right audience in the right way? How does that have to do, or how does that match up with your marketing materials? Are you, positioning yourself in the best way possible through your resumes, through your LinkedIn profiles, through the storytelling I was just telling you about? Another part here, the last 2 points here, probably the most important, and this is where a lot of people get stuck in the planning and in the first couple of parts of like trying to figure out what is it that they want. And sometimes some of us will say, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know exactly what I want, and I know what I bring to the table. And that's beautiful. But some of us get stuck in that. And then you almost get like analysis, paralysis by analysis, where you're just not doing anything. And the most important thing about job search is actually taking action, whether it is practicing interviewing. There's no way to get better at interviewing except to just do it. I always say, if you're not great at interviewing, make sure you are practicing with the jobs that you're like, I'm okay if I don't get this job, but let me just practice. Let me just take this call, this interview, just for the sake of practice, right? Like never shutting down an opportunity to practice an interview. Putting some metrics around job search. What I mean by metrics, and this is where the tools can come in handy. People just blindly applying to jobs without tracking where they're applying, why they're applying, and doing follow-up. So if you're listening to this and the only step you take to an application process is submitting an application online, or doing the easy apply on LinkedIn, or just submitting your application on maybe on a recruitment website, and that's all you do, that is probably where I would look into auditing that piece, because there are at least 2 other steps to the actual submission of the application, and those include follow-ups, right? And in order for you to follow up, you have to remember where you applied. Many people here maybe can relate to the fact that you've applied to so many positions, but are you actually following up with the recruiters? And if you have questions about that, I can speak more to it, but I don't want to spend a lot of time here. And then analyzing on what's working, what's not working. I have people come to me and, in my consultancy work, and they'll say, I've been doing this I will ask them, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been taking this approach? So whether it's a business strategy or a job search strategy, and they'd be like, oh, like 4 or 5 months. I'll be like, okay, great. So what has worked for you? Or how many interviews have you had? What has been the results? And it's like, I'm not sure. So it's the whole, what's that famous quote, like doing the same thing over and over again without results is like insanity, right? So looking at analyzing on every 3 to 4 weeks, what's working, what's not working, which email hit, which application was successful, where did you get an interview, where did somebody respond to your LinkedIn, what wording did you use, what was your approach? So analyzing the type of jobs you're applying for, especially if you're a career change seeker, you might be applying to maybe two different pathways, right? So analyzing and not just doing the same thing over and over again. Yes, sometimes it's a numbers game, but without analyzing where the best numbers hit, it's very difficult to actually win at the numbers game. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not getting any traction, it's been 2-3 months, go back to the drawing board and look at what can you do differently. All right, so that's one. And then finally, if there was a formula to success at job search, it is repetition, consistency, pivoting if needed, and a lot of patience. In an average job market, whether you're doing career search, career change, with hundreds of individuals that I've worked with so far in my career, I can tell you, usually 3 to 6 months to land that new opportunity. That's pretty average. So understanding realistic timelines is important. Of course, the 3 to 6 months mark depends on what you're doing every week. how you're tracking, what metrics you're putting into place, what actions you're taking, how much you're innovating, and so on in your job search. So repetition is important because it's just sometimes just going through the process, pausing at the end of it, what worked, what didn't work, pivoting if you need to, and then continuing. Consistency matters, not even intensity. You don't need to go through thousands of applications or hundreds of applications. It's more about being consistent. And then the key piece here is pivoting, meaning, okay, whatever you're doing, it's not working. Let's do something different. What can you do? Who can you ask? Who can you reach out to? And so on. That usually adds to success. Usually when I work with people at about 3 months-ish is when they get that opportunity. And most of my crowd are people like in your positions that are mid-level to senior level people that are experienced professionals. So usually that's kind of the timeline. Again, depends on other various factors, but that's pretty standard. All right, so feel free to drop questions if you have. Let's get into tools. By a show of hands, or maybe just like, thumbs up on the screens, just let me know how many of you are using any AI tools at all at the moment. We have a few hands up. Okay, I'm looking at the hands, thumbs up and hands. So a number, maybe like almost like 1/3 to half, I guess, kind of. All right, cool. So feel free, those of you who are already using AI, feel free to, of course, share your findings and things like that. That might be helpful to the crowd as well. So the ones that I've come across that are pretty good. So ChatGPT, of course, ChatGPT is amazing and scary at the same time. What's interesting in the world of career development, talking about reinvention, and I'm at a stage in my career where I'm thinking, what's next? And I can tell you, ChatGPT, what I'm about to show you, completely makes me irrelevant in the next year to 2 years. Like with the work that I do, ChatGPT can do so much. It can be your advisor, it can be your career person. I'm going to show you a live demo just for those of you who are not familiar, because it does matter how you talk to ChatGPT and kind of how you're positioning the wording. There's like a whole art to it. But anyway, so you can use it for resume and cover letters. You can use it for networking, emails and reach outs, interview prep, researching company individual, preparing, what questions will a recruiter ask me from this company for this role, and so on. There's also a number of resume scanners that are out there that you can use, where you can, I'm sure many of you have already used this, but where you can copy paste your resume, copy paste the job description and see what's the match between you and the job, right? And then it will actually give you a match percentage of how much your resume matches to that job, and it will give you areas to improve on, so that you can make that resume more friendly to that particular job. If you've heard me speak before previously in these sessions, I'm not a huge fan of focusing on your resume. So which is why, again, I love ChatGPT, because it's like, that's one thing. Cover letters, resumes, one area you should not spend a lot of time on. Where you need to spend time on is the reach out, is the networking, is the building relationships, because those take a chunk of your time and those will bring you the most value. But that is not to say that your marketing materials should not be on point. So they do, which is why, again, using AI tools will save you a lot of time. Anyway, I will be sending I already actually sent the links to everything that I'm talking about today to the organizers. So they will be sharing with you all the links after this session. Another networking tool that obviously LinkedIn is a really good one. Having a great LinkedIn profile is essential. As a recruiter, I can tell you that my team and we use LinkedIn and Indeed the most. So these two platforms we use the most to search for people, and I'll speak on that at the next slide. Lunch Club is a networking tool. It's lunchclub.io. It's a free networking tool where you can actually meet different people in specific areas. You can meet people for opportunities. If you're looking to start a business, you can meet people for mentorship. You can meet people, just interesting people. There's literally like a selection that you can do. You can meet people if you want to start something like a startup. You can meet co-founders, etc. Octopus.io is a tool. It is a CRM system that helps you reach out to more people. Check it out. There's videos about it. It's a pretty cool tool if you're in a space of your LinkedIn profile where you're like, I really need to connect with more people. And instead of going manually connecting to everybody, octopus.io is a great tool. There is a 1 week free trial. I think it's 1 or 2 weeks, something. It's either 7 or 14 days. And then you can sign up for the monthly, and it's if you find it useful, and that is only like $20 a month, which is I've been using it for 2-3 years, and I think it's the money well worth investing. So that's that. And then there's Teal HQ, which I'll show you. Has anybody heard of Teal HQ yet? Anybody can raise their hand. Anybody? Okay, good. So hopefully that's. Oh, yeah. Somebody said something. No. Okay, good. So maybe that's one new thing, at least I can show you guys as well. All right, cool. So we'll go into that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention here is, oh yeah, somebody's saying, Michael Lyons, he said, yeah, Teal is great. So yeah, and Michael, feel free to put in the chat how are you using Teal for others. And then hunter.io is, I call it like a stalker platform because you actually can get people's email addresses, and but that's what it's there for, and sometimes that's what you have to do. So it basically allows, and you just got the link of resources, the links right there in the chat of everything I'm talking about. So hunter.io is, let's say, you know, the HR person or the recruiter's name, but you cannot get them on LinkedIn. You can't find them anywhere else. Their website is not listed on their website. So hunter.io is where you go in, you type in a company name, and I don't know, let's say you put like Deloitte, and it will give you the format of the email. So we'll tell you first name dot last name at Deloitte.com, or it will tell you first initial dot last initial so it will give you the actual structure of the email, and that's one way to get people's email. I'm also including sample reach outs to be included. Will be included in post this as well, where, you know, when we're talking about networking and using all these tools, like, what do you actually say? Like, what do you say to a recruiter versus a hiring manager versus somebody you know? Like, how do you ask for an introduction? What are sample emails you can say? So anyway, all right. So, and somebody asked, is Octopus.io a separate site or part of LinkedIn? It's a separate, it's an extension. So it's like an extension. So it's a separate site, but it connects to LinkedIn as well. All right. And Michael also commented, Teal will identify the keywords in the job description, categorize them into hard skills, soft skills, etc. Exactly. What I also like about Teal, we're not going to go too much into Teal today, but what I also like about Teal is if you struggle with keeping track of where you applied, Teal is a great tool for that. It will actually track your applications, where you applied. So it kind of creates you like a spreadsheet of everywhere you applied, who you sent an email, when it was. So it allows you for that follow-up. So, all right. Anyway, enough about that. I feel like I've been talking for a long time. Let me just share my screen and show you ChatGPT, which is so fun. All right, so let me share my screen real quick. Everybody still with us? Any questions while we are pulling this up? Cool. All right. So do you guys see my, let me move this, hold on a second. Do you guys see my ChatGPT screen? Just
yes.
drop it. Yeah, thank you. All right, so anybody, I'll take a volunteer. So give me an example of something you think you can use ChatGPT for. So anybody wants to, before I start giving my example, anybody has, you're like,
we can learn some technical skills, like, you know, ask questions related to some specific technology, what you're interested in, and then make it answer.
So you want to know, you want to see what technical skills it's going to teach you? I didn't understand.
Yeah, suppose if I want to learn Python, I can just ask questions, what is Python, and then I can lead based on the answers I've been getting all the questions.
Yeah, you can ask as simple as that. So I mean, let's just start easy. All right. So you can literally ask it anything. So you can say, I want to learn about Python. Where should I start? I don't know. Let's see what it says. and it will give you blah, 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 blah. All right, let's say, so let's focus. So there's a lot of things that you can do. So it will give you like ideas, right? Like you want to upskill yourself. You don't know where to start. Here, it gives you all these things. Let's say you want to, let's say you are applying, I'm applying, give me a job somebody's applying for. Yep, Sharon, I got your point. Okay, let's look at that. But like, somebody give me a job they are applying for, just the title.
Technical writer.
Technical writer. I am applying. I'm applying for a technical writer position. Give me some questions a recruiter might ask me for this role, and it will give you a list of questions. It's very generic here, right? So it will give you a role specific question. But let's say you have, let me see, like a technical writer job description, if we look that up. All right, so let's look at this. So let's just find any jobs. Okay, never mind. Jobs. Let me just go into jobs. So we'll play around with this a little bit. So I'm just going to choose any of this. So so let's say highlights, job description. Here we go. All we're going to do is we're going to copy paste. We're just going to copy it here. We're going to go back here and say again, I'm applying for this technical writer position based on the following JD. Write me a cover letter. Here is the JD. And you copy paste it, and it will spit out even a format and so on. All right. All right. So it will give you these things. And so here's the thing. So if you actually have an actual like a job, it will give you something more specific, and then you go through it. And you're like, okay, I can get some ideas. So at least you have an idea of how to format it and what you should say in each paragraph to make it attractive, right? So you don't want to just copy paste it blindly. You want to actually just get some meat ideas from it, and then you can kind of and then you can play around with it. If you have your resume, what you can also say, you can also do this. So you remember, you see how I did it here? Like I put where did I go? Hold on. I said I'm applying for technical writer. Based on the following JD, write me a cover letter, and then you can also add and tailor it towards my and include my experience, and here's my resume, and then you copy paste your resume into the job, into this, so then it will actually write your cover letter based on job description and your resume, so it will actually match. All right, so so that's one way you can do this. For your resume, what I find very useful is for the resume, what I find very useful is helping you draft your profile summary. So you know how or your LinkedIn summary. So you know how on top, like maybe under your name, you have like a profile summary. Here, where you can copy paste your jobs that you've done in the past, you just copy paste out all of that stuff that you have, and say, create me a 3 to 4 sentence summary of my profile. Here's my profile, and you can even tell it, create me a 3 to 4 sentence or a short paragraph of my profile. Make sure you highlight the metrics, results, so you actually tell it what do you want to make sure to highlight, and it will actually highlight it. And I think it usually does really well in summarizing your overall experience. So for people that are struggling with the storytelling piece, ChatGPT is really great for that, because you don't have to think about it. You just copy paste all of your experience, throw it in here. It will spit out a nice little summary. And the beautiful part is every time you want something new, all you do is hit regenerate, and it will give you a different summary or a different answer. So if you don't like one answer, you can continue to ask it again and again. All right. So let me go back to the chat. So somebody also says, yes, somebody's ChatGPT should revise your resume for you. Absolutely. So that's one way to use it. It is. So the ChatGPT, this version is for free. You can upgrade to the Plus. I haven't. I've been using it since it came out, and it was pretty good. So it's free to create that account. You don't need to you don't even need the paid one. So somebody else, how do you get the ChatGPT? Oh, I would like to see JD and resume and how to improve my resume. So I think that was already answered. Anybody else wants to play around with it before maybe I continue with some other thoughts here? Anybody else wants to give me something else that they're like, oh, I could try. Oh, while you think of that, another thing you can do is, let me just go to my LinkedIn real quick. So I'm going to do Sheridan. Sheridan, I'm going to look her up in just a sec. Oh my goodness. Are you gonna come up here? Okay.
I'm sorry, my name is hard to spell.
Yeah, what is it?
It's SHARADON.
SHRADON, like that?
With an A, the first one is an A.
Oh,
SHA.
Sheridan.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I knew you're here somewhere. All right, so I'm gonna use your profile, Sheridan,
Sure.
not to invade anybody else's privacy today. So so I'm gonna so let's say I'm interviewing with Sheridan, and I will say I have an interview with this recruiter based on her profile. What type of, I don't know, icebreaker, I'm just making things, icebreaker questions I can ask her. I can ask her, here's her profile. And let's just see what it asks. I don't know, it's just an idea, but you can also kind of get to know. So you can this is like icebreaking questions that you can use, right? There's many other things you can do, but this is one way. Sometimes you can also, let's say you are interviewing a hiring. So this is probably more important when you're interviewing with a hiring manager. So if you're speaking with a recruiter, their job is just to ask you questions and like get you to the next step. When you're speaking with a hiring manager, this is when it's more about whether it comes down to whether they're going to like you or not. So to break ice and to build relationship with a hiring manager or a panel of people, you want to kind of have something in the background to help you, show that you've done your homework about them, or at least you can try to get to know them a little bit more. Or you can ask ChatGPT, like, looking at this person's LinkedIn profile, and you just drop the LinkedIn profile, and you can say, what are some things this person is passionate about? So you're trying to get to know your client, so to say, your future employer, by using ChatGPT for that, right? So, so that's another way. So what else? And somebody said, ChatGPT saves so much time. You do need to edit. Yeah, exactly. So you do need to edit to make it sound like you wrote it. But also sometimes what I found is you can actually get ChatGPT to sound very human, which is very scary. So you can say like, write me a, oh, that's another thing that you can use it for. Write me a LinkedIn post about the holiday season. I'm just making things up, something neutral. The holiday season, make it heartwarming and genuine, and why it is a great time to reconnect with loved ones. I'm just making things up, guys. So it will actually make you, like it will actually give you like a little, like a very nice, and it will give you even these little things, the emojis. So, you can even use this to send an email to, I don't know, to ex-colleagues or for networking and so on. So this is a really great tool to use if you're like, I don't know what I should write. I use this all the time when I'm like, oh gosh, what should I write about this company retreat that I did? And like, what do I say? Like, so sometimes, you're just, exhausted and you're like, oh, I need to do something. I need to do it right away. This saves you a lot of time. I use it like as a brainstorming buddy. So ChatGPT to me is like, okay, what do I need to do? Instead of Googling it, right? It actually spits out like actual ideas and actions for you. So I think it's really, really cool. You can also say, I'm attending an event. Example, I'm attending an event. And when you go to an event, there's usually a description of the event. And it will tell you like who it's for and the event. And you can say, I'm attending an event in tech. Like, let's try, I'm attending an event in tech. What kind of conversation starters. I don't know, let's say you're super introverted, you don't know where to start. What kind of conversation starters I can use with new people I meet there? I don't know. Just Michael said the holiday message sounds creepy. It is, but you get the point. It can be creepy, it can be genuine. So so you see, it kind of gives you like an idea of like how to break ice with people at events. Like, you know, you don't want to ask them like, what do you do? You can ask them like, you know, have you been following any interesting trends lately? Like, so it kind of just gives you a bunch of things that you can ask. So what do we think of it so far? If you want to comment in the chat, what are we thinking? You guys gonna give it a shot? Awesome. So some people are saying, yay. Some people, so there's also a lot of yeah, and Chris, to your point, it's like, you know, as a writer, professional communicator, ChatGPT, it is very upsetting. And that's why I was like, even in my world of, you know, you can literally talk to ChatGPT and like ask it like, hey, like I want to change my career, I've been doing this, like where should I go next? So that's another way you can use ChatGPT, right? I see it I mean, as a career development professional, kind of, I use it for to help with my clients and stuff like that. But I also see, as long as people just know how to talk to it, you can use it to your own advantage. But it is scary because it's just the beginning of it, and that brings me to a point of like the pivoting, the reinvention. It's almost like we have to, you know, we have to continuously think of like, how can we maintain relevance in whatever career you're in? Like, how is AI, generative AI, how is other tools can you know, will impact you in the world of talent development in organizations? There are so many tools right now that like companies use for creating career paths for individuals, right? Like creating you know, instead of hiring people like myself to consult them, there's a tool that will help your people on your teams create their own career paths, understand the gaps and all of those things, right? It doesn't replace the human aspect, and I think that's where it's still valid, because there's still a human piece to it. But this is just where we are, and I battle with it all the time, Chris. There's of course a lot of talk about, you know, just the ethics. There's a lot of ethics involved in this. So but it is original content. It's just designed by a computer instead of a human being. And so it's helpful, I think, for job seekers. I think there's, you know, I'm kind of like I'm at a stage where I'm like, I know this is not going away, so I might as well work with it. But it is scary, especially for certain professions, right? And it's like, how do you maintain your relevance while utilizing these tools to save your time and so on? So anyway, so, and somebody else said impressive, but I also think the response is generic enough that you can still add of your actual domain knowledge. Yeah, absolutely. It's just it's a good starter, right? I'm just reading your some of your comments. Andrew said, it's weird to me to think that at some point Chad will talk with your chat to get a whole work while go play golf instead. Yeah, like work smarter, not harder, right? I work in software development right now, and a lot of our developers use ChatGPT to actually solve like bugs and like different things in software. So they say it's pretty good. Again, it's like one of those things, you know. So can you elaborate on AI versus ATS? So application tracking systems, it's the same. So AI is in everything. AI is in your Spotify list. AI is in your Netflix. AI is everywhere. It's the same. It's just AI. I mean, artificial intelligence is just, it's been around for a long time, actually. It's just now it's more, it's been around for as long as we had an iPhone, there's been AI, right? Google Maps is AI. So so it's similar. ATS systems are just tools that companies use to screen and things like that. Somebody asked, how can we use networking? How can we do networking using ChatGPT? So you can do it by, for example, I want to connect with someone in tech field. I'm just making things up. In the tech field, and ask them for an informational interview. What can my connection request on LinkedIn say? Just something like that. LinkedIn say, and it will tell you blah blah blah, and it will give you like a sample of what you can say. So that's one way, like, right, to connect. Or you can say, like, I met somebody at an event. I met somebody in an event. I met somebody in an event. How do I send a follow-up email? And so on. So that's how you can use it in terms of like reach outs to people, or I want to email a recruiter to ask to speak about a particular position they are advertising. What should my reach out email say? Keep it short. Don't mention job pitch anywhere. Keep it human. So, and it spits out this. Right. So, and again, you can kind of come up with, you can play with that. All right. All right. I'm just going through the chat real quick. Let me come up. So the point is you really want to just kind of talk to it. Yeah, like Karim said, get past the writer's block. So it's just sometimes it's it helps you get started when you're stuck. And it just helps you brainstorm. So if you just get stuck, I mean, again, to Chris's point, it's scary because I personally, and I mean, just to be very transparent, sometimes I'm afraid of what it's going to do to our creative edge, right? And this is where you have to find a nice balance, because as professionals, this is what I battle was like, okay, so it is easy, I'm going to use it, but then how easy it is to just use it versus to sit there and think to yourself about certain things, right? So I think as long as you find that balance and you check yourself from time to time and say, like, I don't want to just outsource my thinking to a tool. I still want to maintain my critical thinking skills. I think that's important, because obviously it's also biased and it has its flaws. So I think use it, but use it in a smart way. And so I think it's super helpful in job search, resumes, but as far as like careers and professional life concerns, you just got to make sure you check yourself before you go too deep into using it and almost like forgetting how to use your own brain, right? So all right. So I think that's enough about that. I know we're almost at time, and I want to make sure to share with you like recruiter tips before we finish up. All right. Let me just share my screen one more time on the last slide that I have for you guys. Does ChatGPT also create PowerPoint presentations? I haven't tried it, but if you go like Canva will create PowerPoint presentations. ChatGPT can give you a outline for slides. So it will actually, you'll be like, I want to speak on topic X, Y, and Z. Give me an outline and give me an outline and a title, or I need to make 10 slides. I just need to have highlights of information I want to discuss. The topic is this, objectives of this, create me 10 slides based on this topic and objectives, and it will create you slides. This was not created by ChatGPT, by the way, just a disclaimer. I've created this slide. This is all me. All right. Am I sharing it yet or not yet? Not yet. Okay, hold on. All right. So just the last slide here. Couple of things when it comes to recruitment. I mean, again, you might have heard this through the sessions that you guys have held, but 80% of roles, especially the more senior you get in your careers, are filled by internal networks, referrals, recommendations. For better or for worse, it is a policy of HR to post jobs and to have jobs advertised for the Equal Opportunity Employer Acts. Policies are great because they do exist, and it does, and it's there to make it fair. But also from a recruiter perspective, and every company and every owner and leader that I've talked to, it is very costly to hire people. It costs a lot of money, and we want to minimize the risk of hiring the wrong person, right? It depends on this company size and so on. But that is why majority of the 80% of the roles are filled by networks, because it minimizes the risk of hiring the wrong person. And again, depending on the resources the company has, is it a large company? Do they have a specific hiring department? Is it just one person doing all the hiring? Depending on the resources you have, you will first and foremost will always look into previous people you've spoken with, people you've met in person, and so on, because it minimizes the risk of spending a whole lot of money. On average, it takes 45 days to fill a position for any company. So if you have, if you're applying for a role and you know that position's been open for 2-3 months, as a candidate, you should ask the person, I see this position been open for 60-90 days. What has been the challenge with filling it? Because if it's above that, 45 days is an average, and that is what most recruiters aim for, because that speaks to their efficiency and so on. It shouldn't take more than 45 days to fill most positions that are out there existing. So something to keep in mind. Talk to a recruiter like a human. I often see people talking to recruiters. They're just so hardcore selling themselves, and we just want to get to you we just want to get to know you as a person. Culture fit is important when hiring. So I already saw your resume. I'm speaking with you because your resume caught my eye. I don't need you to go bullet point by bullet point to talk about your resume. I see that. Talk to me about your story. Tell me your character. Tell me what's exciting to you. Tell me a little bit more about your any, I don't know, just anything besides just going through bullet point, right? And the final thing is, again, the 87% of recruiters and my team as well, we use LinkedIn to check jobs and Indeed, but LinkedIn is definitely number one for most. So having a good LinkedIn solid profile with a good story, using the keywords, because again, AI and algorithms will pick up specific candidates based on the search that we do on LinkedIn. So these are some things to remember. And one thing I forgot to mention on point number 2 is confidence is key. For better or for worse, you have to remember you're talking to a human being who has their biases that they might not even be aware of. Oftentimes when candidates get really nervous, it can come off as like, you can come off like, okay, you're just nervous. Or sometimes you come off as you don't have the competency. And that's the reality. And you have to, that's why I'm saying, like, starting with that strategy, understanding where you are, what you bring to the table, knowing how to tell your story confidently, knowing when you don't know an answer, what do you say if you don't have an answer? Confidently saying, I don't have an answer to this, but I'd be happy to explore. I'm a quick learner. There's a learning curve for every opportunity, etc. Making sure you're not jeopardizing yourself by not being prepared to tell your story, because that will shut your confidence down. You'll be nervous, and that nervousness will not just come off as nervousness, but it will come off as like you don't know what you're doing, or lack of competence, or something else. So practice, and be confident. And you're talking to another human being. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. So it's fair to be nervous, but I think the more confident, the more practice you have, the more confident you become, and the more quality conversations you can have with recruiters and hiring managers. So so somebody asked, a culture fit. So meaning, is this person gonna, let's say I work for a fast-paced tech company. Things are changing all the time. Like, we're just like, every day is a new day. You're like, I don't know what I'm gonna wake up to. So if I'm interviewing somebody who's been in a very specific role in a very large organization, for example, for 10 years, right? There's a lot of pros to that. But let's say this person has changed jobs only twice, like maybe they've grown only they got 2 promotions within that, or they've been in a very specific department within a larger organization for a long time. Then they may or may not be a good fit for our company, because we're small, fast-paced, really fast, and a lot of change happens. So I would be hesitant. I would dig deeper to understand if that person can manage the change that we experience as a small company all the time. So that's what I mean by culture fit, right? So there's that. So that's like one example. Another example is somebody who maybe primarily works in an office, and that is their norm, and that's what they've been doing. But then we're a remote company. Are they going to be able to keep up in that remote environment? That will be a question. So I would want to know a little bit more. That's like just a couple of examples off the top of my head. I hope that answers. Karim also asked, I see multiple hundreds of applicants for several of my jobs of interest. Are these relevant to jobs with high level of interest? Yeah, so yeah, it's crazy. I see these postings and it's like thousands of people. Like there's just no way you're going through all of those. It's still relevant, I would say. One thing I do want to say, and I'm going to wrap up. I know, Sheridan, we're almost up at time. The easy apply button on LinkedIn, something you need to know. Easy apply button is not the best way to apply. I would recommend you can apply on an easy apply button, but I would also recommend going to the website, because it's not like when you do easy apply, it doesn't automatically connect to the ATS system in that company. Those applications, your application stays in LinkedIn. So if the recruiter doesn't go in and check the LinkedIn and then moves your application manually to the ATS system, you won't be in their system. So, and what I mean by that is sometimes they may not all recruiters, you know, they might say easy apply and it seems like, oh, I'm just gonna apply, it's easy, right? But it's not always gonna do you justice, because you might not even get to the ATS system. Nobody might even screen your resume. So be mindful of that. Don't just apply easy apply. Actually apply on the company website as well. All right. Okay. So of course, feel free to connect with me. I also have a podcast where I talk about all these things all the time. I give a lot. I mean, I think I give out a lot of content I post every day, and I talk with recruiters and talent development folks and professionals and entrepreneurs and so on. So feel free to check out the podcast. It's called The Shift with Elena Agad. I give out a lot of information, and of course, LinkedIn is my main platform, so I'm always there if you guys want to connect. All right. I can speak for hours, but I know Sheridan's probably over there hoping that I would stop soon. So I'm going to pass it on.
We love it, Elena. I am so glad that you shared great tips from kind of the overall strategy of job search to then specific tools for job search, such as ChatGPT, and how to work with recruiters. My goodness. I hope you were all taking good notes. That was really wonderful. Elena, thank you so much. We hope you will be back. And thank you for being able to keep up with chat. That was wonderful. And everyone, we are going to take a 5-minute break, and then we will be back and do the second half of our program. So thanks again, Elena.
You're welcome. Somebody asked for a contact slide. I just put it's just look me up, Elena Agaragimova, on LinkedIn. Everything is there. Like, I'm the easiest person to find. It's probably shouldn't be, but it's there. I don't know if it's good or bad.
Okay, that's perfect. And everyone here should be really good at finding people on LinkedIn. That's a key job search skill. So start with finding Elena. All right.
Good luck, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great job. Good luck. Great job. Great day. And great jobs as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Elena.
All right.
Bye.